Hello, everybody, and welcome to this, our third episode of Carruthers and Leggetter&Whoever. I'm Thomas Carruthers.
I'm Will Leggetter.
And today we have a special guest all the way from America.
Wow.
It's Amelia Bryant, who's currently drinking. What are you drinking, Amelia?
I'm drinking black coffee.
Ooh, black coffee. Like the Americans like it.
Like the Americans do. Hey,
So true.
Tom. Oh, yeah, we love it. We love black coffee.
Yeah.
Tom, did you hear about that actress that got stabbed? Reese, what's her name?
Witherspoon.
No, with a knife.
And that's a good start.
How long have you been preparing that? That's disappointing, to say the least.
Only 2 days.
Yeah. The first time that one got said to me, I really liked it. But
I workshopped it on my parents last night, and my mom was half asleep, and she goes, "What? Who got stabbed?" And she, yes, it didn't go over well.
Well, it's going over well now. And you bring this joke up. Why, Amelia?
Because starring the election is Reese Witherspoon.
That's not grammatically. Starring the election is Reese Witherspoon. Well, why don't you introduce it?
I didn't.
Why don't you introduce this week's film first?
Me. Well, we're
Yes,
doing
as our special
Election, which is actually starring Mathew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon.
Mm-hmm.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who still believes that honesty, integrity, and fidelity are the cornerstones of our democracy, we suggest you wait for another preview before getting your popcorn. In the nation's capital, a new leader has found a place in the halls of power. But her story began in the halls of high school.
We'll move on now to the presidential race with 3 candidates running. The first is Tracy Flick.
And that one guy.
Chris Klein.
Chris Klein, directed by Alexander Payne.
Yes.
Is that all I gotta do?
That'll suffice. Now, Will, this is another Virgin watch for Will. So
Sure is.
I mean, I love the film.
Do you really have to say Virgin watch or?
This is one of the categories.
He does. It's in the contract. He's obliged to say that.
Literally, okay.
I really love the film. I think it's impeccable. And Amelia's a big fan. But Will, what was your initial impression of Election?
I loved it. I love Mathew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon. So what could go wrong? No, I really enjoyed it. I can't say much more. And that's going to be a long podcast.
Well, let's open up with this. Is this Mathew Broderick's best performance? I'm going to just say yes. I'm going to straight in, yes, it is. I think obviously Ferris Bueller is a different timbre and no less good, but I think this is his best performance.
Amelia, have you seen Deck the Halls, the Christmas movie?
I have not. I can't say.
Danny DeVito. That is Mathew Broderick at his best.
Cut to clip now.
What I'm talking about. Hey, baby, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Oh, God, I'm your daddy. I'm your daddy. I'm your daddy. Oh, my God.
That's going to appear in every single episode.
I definitely say that, like, his most iconic film is obviously Ferris Bueller, but that's not, I don't know if that's a great measure of his, if you can compare the two, because there's such different points in his career.
There is an awful lot to be said about the immense, well, we're going to talk an awful lot about the immense charisma next week, which you won't be joining us for, Amelia, but next week is Ferris Bueller. To compare and contrast let's say, before the crash and after the crash, not to bring up that horrible incident. Did you know about Mathew Broderick's car accident manslaughter case, Amelia?
Oh God, no! I don't think I've actually.
No, he killed a man in Ireland.
Me
With a
too.
spoon.
Yeah. Oh yes. Amelia went to Ireland, Will, instead of going into America, because obviously she's from America, and she never brings it up.
Ha ha.
Great poster. Great poster. I remember because there was early in my movie watching life, I would when I had some disposable income, I would bring the stack of DVDs that I'd found in HMV to my mother, and as soon as I was around 12 still, she still had to sort of say, okay, yeah, no, that one's good. Yeah, no, no, that's a bit much, yeah. And one of them was Election, because I was really excited, because I love Mathew Broderick, I love Reese Witherspoon, and I think I'd seen The Descendants. We'll get to Alexander Payne's wonderful career, but I think I'd seen The Descendants by then, and so I was excited. And my mum didn't know it, and she said, "What's this?" And I said, "Ha ha ha! I just brought it to you because I thought you'd find it funny. Look at that cover," to try and hide my genuine interest. And then later on in life, I bought the film, I own the film, and I've watched it many a time. Let's talk about Alexander Payne then. Great director. You've got The Descendants, Sideways, Nebraska, About Schmidt, obviously this, Downsizing, I think 2 years back now.
Oh yeah, I did see that one.
I haven't watched it yet. I've been.
Have you not?
I was very excited as a big Alexander Payne fan, and it's just I saw the meandering reviews. And
it starts off with a fantastic concept, and then from like the halfway period on, it suddenly becomes, oh, we've got to save the planet, that sort of film, and it loses the original message, I think.
Whereas, oh, sorry, go on.
Well, the original message is to save the planet. That's why they're downsizing. But it becomes this weird, like, the world's ending, so we have to burrow underground.
It's Matt Damon at his best.
Matt Damon at his best.
I would say absolutely.
Go on, let's have a quick tangent. What is Matt Damon's best?
Oh, Born.
Okay, a bit, Will?
What's the one where he's a politician?
Oh God, I don't know.
And he's opening lots of doors.
The Informant?
No, there's like this higher power, and they're trying to make him the president, and so they're choosing his life, but he's trying to escape it.
Oh, the Adjustment Bureau.
Yeah, that's it.
I haven't thought about the Adjustment Bureau in 5 years. I'm going to go for Talented Mr. Ripley. Impeccable film. I'm sure we'll get round to it. Peak Damon, peak Jude Law, not peak Blanchett. Maybe peak Paltrow and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Does she have a peak?
Yeah, I'd say Talented Mr. Ripley. And Seven. She's really good in Seven.
She's fantastic in Glee.
Oh yeah,
she's all right in Glee. Yeah.
Yeah, where she convinces what is it? Rachel doesn't like her, and she convinces her that she's a nice person by doing Chicago, because apparently Mr. Shue wouldn't let them do Chicago.
I think something along those lines.
She's like, oh, Mr. Shue. Well, I always brought this up to Mr. Shue, but he never let us. It's like. It's not a risk. Like,
but they did Cabaret in the first season.
Blurred Lines, the Rocky Horror episode. Like, I don't know why Chicago is off limits for Mr. Shue, a man who starts the series peeking on a man in a shower. Anyway, I'm sure we'll do a best of Glee.
Oh yes,
where we all bring in 3 episodes of Glee. We can pencil that in now. I mean, I know my answer. Is this film criminally underrated? I think desperately so. Will, you've never heard it?
I've never heard of it.
Heard of it? Yeah.
Yeah, and watching it, I'm ashamed of myself.
Oh,
I'll publicly say that now.
One thing that's important to know about me is that I'm an only child. My mom is really devoted to me. She likes to write letters to successful women like Elizabeth Dole and Connie Chung and ask them what advice do they have for me, Tracy, her daughter.
The next candidate for student body president is Paul Metzler.
I just don't think somebody would do something like that on purpose.
I think you did it.
And if you want to keep questioning me like this, I won't continue without my attorney present.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's jump into opening line Hall of Fame. Hey, Mr. McAllister. It's a good opening line. As tangential and just small as it is, and the way that Reese delivers it, it does set us on the exact path that we're going to go on beautifully. That chippy, cheery Tracy Flick that I think we all know and love.
Definitely, some know, some are Tracy Flick.
You did message me. Well, I woke up to it because obviously you're on different times. It was you were watching it. I think I got that anyway. And it was. Well, let's get it up. What the nuance of it was? I
think I said,
"Oh God, I'm Tracy. Oh God, I'm Tracy Flick. Help me." What was the specific moment where you realized this?
Well, it was when they're in class and he's asking about ethics or morals, and she has her hand raised the entire time, and he does not call on her until right before the bell rings.
It's very good. And then he doesn't let her finish.
No, Tom is a classmate of mine, so I feel like you can vouch for it.
I think I can vouch that. Yeah, I think you've been pretty Tracy'd in your life.
I just it's that not to get super feminist on you, Tom, but
that's absolutely fine.
That combination of drive and being a woman that people tend to find off-putting, but that's what fuels it even more. Is the more off-putting you are, the more frustrating it is, and the more the need to be successful just becomes so much greater. But
Tammy's called a bitch twice, isn't she? Both very funny times, but I have to admit. That classic thing of you're a bitch if you're a strong woman or whatever it is. I can't remember the exact thing, but you're all saying it in your head. You know what I'm trying to say.
We know what you're saying. Yeah. She's the Hillary Clinton of the.
So I was going to bring this up. I think not that this is an overly contextual podcast, but we would be remiss to mention that the book, which we'll get to in Tom's book corner, which I reread for the podcast. The book, and hence the film, it was a rather quick turnaround, is at the peak of the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal, and also the Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill scandal. And there's a great line in the book near the end where Mr. McAllister is talking about, he talks directly about Bill Clinton and Clarence Thomas, and he says, the only reason I'm in trouble is because I told the truth and they lied. And I think I think also that lends a little bit of credence to the I'd say crude sexuality in the film. There's a lot of crude, especially obviously in reference to younger minors. Next,
we'll just finish it there.
Nobody jumped in. Best YouTube comments. Ferris became a teacher. Fact. Election is a documentary about Hillary Clinton's high school years. That's not a fact. But
fact check that.
And that's from Hulk Hate Puny Banner. Spoiler alert. When I first watched this movie, I was going through a divorce and I hated the ending. But now, the ending with Mathew Broderick throwing his milkshake at the limo and cowardly running away, it sort of makes me smile and humbly accept the inequities of life.
Okay.
I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and I've known so many damn Tracy flicks over the years. This movie perfectly captures the raw ambition and psychopathy of that type of young woman.
Psychopathy. Okay.
Rachel Berry equals Tracy Flick.
There's that's half of an equation.
Yeah, we don't know what the first half is. Ferris Bueller is a teacher. How ironic. He could have defaced the ballot papers so they would have been invalidated. You can't pretend that 2 votes went missing. I've never thought about that. There are also... I mean, it goes more into it in the book of like, there's a whole monologue where he's like, I should have just put them in my pocket. I should have done any number of things that would have, worked out better. A.O. Scott is wrong in his recent article about this film. Here's the only thing I need to know about Tracy. She ultimately goes to work for a Republican. She's evil, period. Just like all of them. Why is this so goddamn hard for people to understand? Women can be evil too. That's from Valon Kennedell. 8 months ago, and he's edited it since. So I don't know what it was.
Something's happened.
I don't know if he's changed his mind or if he's grown more volatile or less volatile. Yes, so let's just, is Tracy evil? I think she's not, obviously. But
no. She's got some really lovable, redeemable qualities, but I mean, I can agree with there's something scary, male or female, about raw ambition, about someone who is gunning for a political job. I just think anybody that wants to go into politics has to have a bit of a, how should I say?
Cutthroat attitude.
Yeah, I mean, you have to like yourself enough to think that, oh yeah, I could run this country or this state or even this local government. Or in high school, and I don't know if I've told you this, Tom, but I was in student government for... I was
going to save this to later. I was going to ask what everybody's positions were. I, despite not getting head boy, I was voted most likely to be Prime Minister. So I don't know.
That's well, it's a popularity contest at the end of the day.
Yeah, but Ryan was good. I never begrudged Ryan. Ryan Wilson, great guy, because he was a mixture of both.
Ryan Wilson, related to Owen and.
I thought you were going to say like Brian Wilson. No.
No.
Yeah. Go. We'll do it now. So you go on. Finish. So you were on student government. Were you the president or?
I was not. I did it in high school. My freshman year of high school, I was treasurer. I had no real responsibilities. I think I counted something one time, but it was a class at the school I went to.
Mm-hmm.
So we all had it scheduled in as an elective. So we met up and we were supposed to have meetings and discuss things. But I mean, what I remember, which I don't remember a lot of high school, but from what I remember, it was just a chance for all of the popular kids to hang out with each other.
Yeah. I remember that was sort of the prom committee, and I was very annoyed because I kept saying, "Why don't we do as the prom committee? You'll like this, Will. Let's do Enchantment Under the Sea, and then we'll get a little band in." And then nobody went for that. Will, were you on any councils or whatever?
No. I was in primary school. I was voted secretary. That was fun. But nothing matters. Nothing matters when you're young.
This is true.
However, in secondary school, we did a thing called mock elections, where every tutor group came up with their own political party, and we had a little election. And I became the sort of Alistair Campbell figure of our campaign.
The what? Sorry?
The spin doctor. I was behind the scenes. We decided not to come up with any manifesto points apart from stopping Freddos from becoming so expensive. Because they're getting smaller and they're becoming more expensive. And that's
Do you
not
know
right.
what a Freddo is, Amelia?
I do. I've lived in England for a while, darling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were a real Tammy Metzler.
I was one of the worst back then.
So for casting it, I'm Tracy.
Yep.
Tom, you're
Mr. McAllister.
Mr. McAllister, and Will, you can be Tammy.
You can be Tammy.
Thank you very much.
Right. Best 10-minute stretch. I've got, and I think it's more like 15, and I can't pinpoint it exactly, but I think, and I don't know what this says about me, but I think it's the McAllister's like start of the downfall. Like after he does his nice little prep, and then obviously he gets the B,
Yeah.
and then it's just downhill and downhill and downhill. And I think it's the rapid speed and the constant decline. That's probably my favourite 10 minutes. Will?
I quite like how it opens and introduces all the characters with the freeze
that is
frames.
great.
I really like that.
Well, no, it's not that big.
Every time it freezes on Reese, it's just an awful freeze.
It's very well done. Amelia, 10 minutes.
It's a hard one,
It is.
but I think probably the poster section.
That is good.
Yeah, I mean, her looking down at her hands and all the
Bloody
paper
hands.
clips. this symbol of blood and like, you can't. No, well.
A real Lady Macbeth, if we're going to
Very-
get literary.
Very much so.
Tom's weirdly specific favourite part of the film. I think I've got 7.
Then that can't constitute as favorite. I
this
believe.
This has come up before, Amelia. We just ignore it and we just carry on. Well, you know what they say about the early bird? Yeah, I do. I don't know. The deadpan brilliance of Mathew Broderick's performance in this film. This is one of the better deadpan performances of all time. Just that, yeah, I do. And I remember talking to one of my teachers in Philadelphia about this, a big fan of it, called Ben Dibble. And he said that he hasn't laughed as much at a comedy as when he's dealing with Tracy when she gives him the signatures. And he's just looking at her through the window. He's just got that dead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Well, there's something that it's something that the English do very, very well. It's not something that American comedies capture that easily, but he does. He's very dry and he's very deadpan, and it's a very dark, comedy. I'd say.
Yeah.
So
I'd say pitch black in parts.
Right. And it's surprising to me to be able to watch not surprising, that's kind of a stretch, but it is kind of refreshing, even though this movie is like 20 years old now, to be able to see an American film that's so that does that dry humor so well.
You can say that's all of Alexander Payne's films, really. About Schmidt, very dry. Descendants. I mean, that's more of I'd say that's more of a drama. That gets you. That's a tearjerker. Good film. And then obviously Sideways is brilliant. Paul Giamatti. 3 Times a Lady. I don't think they could have picked a more perfect song to emphasize the.
Oh, Dave.
Dave Novotny. I don't think they could have picked a more perfect song to emphasize the sort of drudgery and patheticness of that man than 3 Times a Lady, and he's nodding his head as if he's listening to, I don't know, Abbey Road for the first time ever in 1969. And he walks up to her and he's got a little move. Very good song. Paul's speech. I got this school. And like when I won the touchdown that year and I didn't let you down then, and I'm not going to let you down now. And I'd like to thank you very much.
What's the soundtrack or the song that they're using?
As the Native American.
Right. It's
Ennio. It's from the film Navajo Joe, scored by Ennio Morricone, and basically when they were editing the film, Alexander Payne, in the edits, there were all these tight close-ups of Tracy with those like piercing eyes, and he just went like that's sort of like what she was clearly hearing in her head. And then they put it into the edit, and they were originally going to write some music that reflected that, but they eventually just bought the score, and it's a great choice. I like the 60s car pulling in. I don't like when he's doing the little pretending to be French. I find that's okay, but I really like when he pulls in and then it cuts to his actual. Go on, you're the car man, Will. What's the car? Do you know the car?
I'm not the car man, Tom. I happen to watch Top Gear. Doesn't mean I enjoy cars. I mean, I do. I love cars.
Yeah. Champagne on the eye. Incredible. That could be the poster. I mean, I like the poster, but that could be the poster. When Tracy goes to put her vote in, and the woman goes, "Hi, Tracy," and then she goes, "Tracy Enid Flick," and then she goes, "I know." The thing. Very good. And then here's a nice little moment. Flick's pure joy when she gets the thumbs up from Larry, and she's in the hallway and she's just jumping up and down.
Oh, she's
so joyous. And I think that it is one of my favorite parts because, as you say, you get sort of swept up with Mr. McAllister's view of her, and at a lot of points she doesn't do herself any favors, and you're not rooting against her, but you're like, oh, you do need to be knocked down a peg maybe. But then when you see her pure joy, it really puts the final time into context.
You're reminded that it is just a high school election.
Oh, yeah. I think they do a very good job. Yeah, I think they do a very good job in Reese's performance, in the costume, in the writing, of emphasising that she is. I mean, she's obviously a growing woman, but she is a child. Mm-hmm. Obviously, teen is an odd period, but she is more or less a child. Yeah. And we'll get to Tom's book corner, but she's a lot more sexually developed in the book, but we'll get to that. So they're my specific favourite parts. Will's more general favourite part on a first watch.
Well, again, the deadpanness of it is just wonderful.
Yeah.
A couple of moments that when he's on about fruit, it's the look that he gives Paul when he's no, apples, and he just looks at him and goes, yes, and that look is wonderful. I
think that look is. I didn't think I could draw 6 pairs, whereas I can do an apple and an orange.
Yes, thank you. But I really enjoy the scene when they're all praying.
Oh yeah,
it's a wonderful scene.
The C word.
They do drop the C word.
Do drop the C bomb. Yeah, go on.
I just like the contrast between you, obviously first, and then, hey, I don't really believe in you, but as soon as I'm going to a Catholic school, I think I might as well. It's wonderful.
I think there is I think it's a very well. There's a lot of this of directly juxtaposing each of our characters, and in juxtaposition, we really see the differences and the similarities between them. The Oscar travesty. Let's share a screen. But 1999 was a stacked year, an absolutely stacked year. And in my personal opinion, I don't know if those are the 5 best films of 1999. I'd probably put Being John Malkovich in there, or Magnolia. But those are the 5 we got. So would you make a shout for Best Picture for Election?
Well, I've not seen some of these films, so I can't tell you in comparison. But
I think the one you could drop is Cider House Rules. That's a pretty dull film. Paul Rudd, early Charlize, and it did get Michael his second Oscar, and he is very good in it. But you can drop that, and you can put a better film in.
Sixth Sense is iconic. You can't really drop that one.
I'm always surprised that Sixth Sense actually got up for Best Picture, because it's not really what one you jump to for sort of it's a pretty genre film. It's a horror. It's just I think your biggest losses are Best Actor for Broderick, definitely, and we know how much I love Woody Allen. Sweet and Lowdown is not that good a film, and Sean Penn is fine in it, but definitely swap that for Mathew. Best Actress, all very good. Meryl Streep has done a lot better than Music of the Heart.
Music of the Heart. I'm pretty sure. Isn't that like she's a teacher?
It's the movie. Basically it's the movie that Wes Craven always wanted to make, but nobody would ever let him. So because obviously Wes Craven is Hills Have Eyes, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, and he really wanted to make Music of the Heart, which is this little musical.
It's a lovely film.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Definitely get Reese in instead of her. All the same, I'd probably give it to Annette for American Beauty. Best Supporting Actor, I don't know if Chris Klein gets in there, but he's very good.
It's one of the few films I can tolerate him in.
Chris Klein?
Yeah.
Do you not like the American Pies?
They're very good, but yeah.
Yeah. Best Supporting Actress, I don't know if Linda Novotny, again, great in the film, but I don't know if she gets a Supporting Actress nod. Election, I believe the only nomination for the film. Best Screenplay based on material previously published. For me, it's the winner. Again, we're back to Cider House Rules. What? I don't know how. Election number 1, probably talented. Anyway, but Cider House Rules is the 5th best screenplay of those 5. Yourselves?
I'd agree. I'm surprised. I'm looking at this list and I can't believe Girl Interrupted wasn't nominated for that much.
Yeah, it got Angelina won, didn't she? But yeah, didn't get much. Next category, Will's favourite building or set. What are you going to pick, Will? I should explain this, Amelia. He's an architecture student. It's not just a weirdly specific category.
What's your favorite building?
I don't know. I quite like the end.
New York, yeah. The Natural History Museum is a nice building.
It's a wonder. Do you like Night at the Museum? A wonderful, wonderful movie.
Great film.
But
that's Robin Williams at his best.
Oh, that's one hell of a statement.
When Paul's got into like the new fraternity, and he's like, "Oh, we did this really cool party." It's just that
does look like a really cool party,
and it looks really. I quite like that.
Really well designed.
I want to be there. Yeah. So I'm going to go with that.
All the lights.
Yeah.
And then you've got Lisa, who's revealed to be a Evita, a political climber. That's basically. I mean, nobody's going to make it. I want a Good Night and Thank You parody with Lisa Flanagan and all the people from Election. Good night and thank you, whoever. She's in every magazine. I mean, I'm not going to just sing the whole song.
Please do.
We're just begging for it. Okay.
Right.
Mute him.
Oh, you can't mute me now. Best single minute. I've got some certain older men should not be, and all that. I think that's very good. I think that's probably my favourite minute.
Well, I lost you there.
Yeah, it's just come up that I'm unstable. Well, no, my internet.
We knew that.
Just come up.
I'm saying that my best single minute is somewhere in the conversation between Jim and Tracy following the posters being teared down. That whole back and forth is my personal favorite. Well, oh, sorry. Amelia, do you want to talk about that scene?
Oh, I love when she comes back after Tammy confesses and she just uses it. Like, you're gonna pay for my posters. You're gonna pay for my posters.
Yeah. Like, that's one of her less redeeming. We cannot put that down to sexism. At that point, she is a genuine monster. She has gotten away with this thing, and she is now blaming and screaming this obscenity.
When her political side really comes out.
Yeah. This is the case. William, your favorite single minute?
I'd probably say the introduction of Dave. It's terrifying.
Oh.
It's just a complete contrast to the rest of the film, and it's right at the beginning, and you're just thinking, oh, okay, this is not the movie I was expecting to watch.
I was going in for. And then he's playing his guitar. Foxy.
He's just stood behind and going,
yeah,
he's my friend. Yeah.
I think in 5 minutes. I think in 5 minutes it perfectly surmises what could easily be. I think it very well puts forward the context that you need for the rest of the film, and it's a rather interesting context actually. There is obviously an edit of this film because it doesn't come up again really. Matthew McAllister throws it in. Matthew McAllister throws it in. Matthew McAllister throws it in. As a little dig. We'll get to that. Is Mr. McAllister the best teacher or the worst teacher in the world? But he throws it in as a dig of, I think some people should be lucky that nobody knows about all that. And that's a very, cruel thing to say.
Cool. Sure. At the end of the day, she's a child, and that's no. She legally couldn't have consented to any of it. So it's like it's a weird form of victim blaming that's just really, really upsetting, because the person who should be lucky that nobody knows is obviously Dave
and Mr. McAllister, that nobody knows that he knew.
He knew, yeah.
Because he gets thrown under the bus. I think, and I don't know what it was, but on the first watch, I think like 5 years back, I thought, take her down. I don't know what it was. I missed a lot of the subtlety of how terrible a person Mr. McAllister actually is at points. He has got the morals and the ethics to not go through with anything, but he still imagines her in the face, the moving faces.
Fill me up.
Fill me up.
Oh,
and she says that both times. We don't need to get too much into this, but is she saying that because she thinks it sounds really sexy, or I don't know. I don't know what I'd do if somebody said that repeatedly as well. But anyway.
I think she just really wants to get pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming. I mean, that's what they were talking about. Is the they've been trying and they can't. So I think it's this idea of give me what's gonna get me pregnant. Yeah. But that whole picturing Tracy, I think that's so much of where he's coming from, is he hates her because he's attracted to her. It's a very strange complex.
And I think they do a very good job of making her childlike. I didn't research how old Reese was at this point. It was
Well,
99.
It was just 2 years before.
Legally?
Right. So
yeah.
she must have been.
I don't know.
20.
Yeah. But as I say, we'll get to Tom's book corner. But she is more of a sex pot, as she is described in the book. And she sort of owns that more. But we'll get to that. Best line. It gets me every time. We're not electing the fucking Pope here. Just that cut the bullshit aspect is very good. I also like, because it sort of creeps up on you subtly, I like, for years and years, people have come to New York to escape their miserable and disastrous lives. Now I am one of them. Because it creeps up on you. It's very good. Will, a favourite line?
I also like bananas. Wonderful delivery.
I've also got when he's announcing the winner and he goes, "Soon as the winner's announced, we can all go home," because it's the last thing he wants. Oh, it's very good. I also like the Spanish teacher going, "A Señor Presidente," because it's like, oh
yeah.
We all know what's going to happen now.
You know what a really good line is when Tammy says, "I'm not a lesbian or anything. I just like the person. It just so happens all the all the people are girls."
Yeah.
Denial.
Yeah. And then Lisa, oh, poor Lisa, she doesn't let her down easy. Or does she let her down easy? Because we do see wonderful unreliable narrator stuff, but a few of those, like that note that she gives her about, like, if you were dead tomorrow, I'd throw myself into one of my dad's cement mixers and be put in your tomb.
Well, yeah, it's intense.
It's motive.
Quite intense, but I mean, I don't think you can say you let someone down easy and then go date their brother.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not justifying Lisa's actions.
I also quite like the little mental breakdown he has in the shower.
Oh, I've got yeah. Give me a break. Fuck him. The final 40 of Mathew Broderick's decline, and almost every line he says, and the wasp sting growing up and swelling his eye, because that's not in the book. And I was listening to the commentary, and the director was just like, "What can we do to just make this even worse for him?
Make it chaotic."
Some people, it got stung by a bee. That's all. For some people, it doesn't do anything. I swell up.
So I'm looking here now. This is the same year that she was in Cruel Intentions. Reese Witherspoon. What range from such a young woman? She's
impeccable. Reese, I think, is criminally underrated. I think that sort of Legally Blonde, Sweet Home Alabama back-to-back thing, and I love both of those films. I'm a big fan of Sweet Home Alabama. I don't know what it is about it. Really like it. It's one of my
Charmin. Yeah,
it's one of my closet favorite rom-coms. But I think she got pigeonholed as that sort of rom-com star, and she's great in it. She's great in them all. But I do think, and I think that sort of also, all these interviews you get about Big Little Lies is just, we were a bunch of 40, 50-year-old actresses and we wanted good roles, and so we had to sort of produce our own show. Big Little Lies, incredible. Have you watched Big Little Lies, Amelia?
I'm just now starting it because I don't have the whatever thing it's on, so I have to steal my sister's account.
Gotta buy the Blu-ray. I've watched it through that first season. Second season, I haven't. I should have done just those 7 episodes. Because those 7 episodes, I've watched it through
It's
4 times now, I think.
It's a book. Is
Yeah.
the first is it just
There's
the
only
second
one book.
season awful?
There's only one book.
Also the
The second season is developed with the author of the book, but it's still, you know, it's okay. I mean, personal issues around the period sort of just halted the watching of season 2, and I've just never got around to it again. But anyway, yeah, no. But season 1, and also Nicole gives it 10 points. 10 points up any day.
Zoe Kravitz.
She's the worst. She's not the worst part because she's still very good.
What?
But
she's incredible.
She's a bit annoying, isn't it?
Whatever.
She's not annoying. It's just that every time she's on screen, I'm just not gagging. I'm just waiting.
Anyway.
No. I'm just like, no, I wish I had another Reese scene here. I wish I had another Laura Dern scene here. I wish I had another Nicole Kidman scene here. I just find all of those characters more interesting.
Well, watch High Fidelity with Zoe Kravitz and then get back to me.
No, I'm not. I'm a big High Fidelity John Cusack. That is a top film for me.
No, it's a TV show. There's no connection.
It is. She works in a record store. It's the same adaptation.
Is it?
She works in a record store and she's on about all of her exes, isn't she?
Oh yeah.
It's based on a Nick what's he called? Will wrote about a boy. Nick.
Oh yeah. Don't know. Oh, that's the door.
There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door.
There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door.
Nick Hornby, that's it. Jack Black's in the original film.
Yeah. Oh, it is. They even have the same name. They're both called Rob.
I thought you were going to say they're both called High Fidelity.
They're both called.
Didn't you notice that?
No, I guess I've never seen this film. I thought I had, but.
What's the change?
What do you mean?
What would you change? If you could change
change
one thing, what would you change? Well, have you got anything?
I don't know.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd change. Yeah, I think this is pretty tight. I think
pretty solid.
They did change it, didn't they? We're going to talk about the alternate ending in alternate ending corner, and I think they made the right choice not to spoil, what we get. What's left from Will's notes?
Nothing. Nothing is left. I didn't write that much because it's the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
And I want to.
Here we go. I've got a lot, so I'll fly through. He picks up the paper. He picks up a little sliver of paper, but doesn't pick up that entire Chinese carton that he just tossed on the floor.
Oh, he finds it in the bin.
Does Mr. McCallum? So a piece of paper on the floor is offensive to him, but an entire Chinese, I don't know. Mr. Novotny's novel. I love that running gag of she wants me to write she wants me to write my novel, and
have you wrote it yet?
And then when Linda snaps and she goes, "You fucking novel," and she's holding the baby, and then obviously you've got the great payoff of Tracy going, I wonder what he's doing now. I wonder if he finished his novel. And he's just ding. Maybe he didn't get what he deserved, but he got something. Hawaii, the little Hawaii, Mr. Novotny's love letter.
Yes, the little
Hawaiian thing. Obviously, Alexander Payne would go to Hawaii for the wonderful film The Descendants, which I believe we have penciled in, Will, for our George Clooney is the man fortnight.
He's a hometown boy.
Is he?
Yeah, well, I'm from Kentucky, darling.
Oh, is
and
he?
so is he. Yeah, he and Rosemary Clooney from Kentucky.
Yeah.
From his dad was a pretty famous news anchor in the area. Fun facts.
Good stuff.
That's,
Approval of signatures. Great stuff. I just love that whole thing. And he just glances by them. Yep. And they all
throws
look in
them in
order.
the trash.
And then I also love the second gag of that when Tammy gets hers. And she goes, I can't even read that. And she goes, oh, Tim Columbo. Who's Tim Columbo? Mr. M's seatbelt. Why don't we have more seatbelts like that? Where they...
Because they're not very safe.
Yeah, they don't, yeah. Did you know that in the porn collection is a film called The Big Election? When he's in the basement and
when he gets the idea for Paul.
That is great. That's great too. That was written and directed for the film. He is the casting director of the film. The porn star. I mean, people like different things, but is he just gonna watch it, drinking a can of Pepsi?
Yeah.
He looks like he's watching, like, I don't know, Law and Order. He's very relaxed. He's just like, maybe that just proves the, not patheticness of it, but the sort of misery and drudgery of what he's doing to get off. But he's just watching it.
And it's quite disturbing that it's you know,
that gives
he's
him the
watching.
idea.
And not that it's even that the porn itself is high school students, and he's a high school teacher.
Could you do the thing of that wasn't his thinking because he's not a sports? I don't know. I just think like that's a great point. But I think if that's what they were going for, I think they would have just gone the whole hog and done an actual teacher. Maybe that's the change. That'd be an interesting change.
Oh, but then you wouldn't get the jock, would you? And then you wouldn't.
Yeah, but then
get the idea for.
No, maybe we add 5 minutes, and he tries one tape, and then he tries another.
Well, it's more of just like this obsession he has with his job, almost like he brings work home. He brings his students home in a way. It's an unhealthy obsession.
Well, yeah, he prides himself on it. I think there is, as much as all the bad things he does, you do feel sorry for him a bit when he loses his, or is that just me?
Well, you feel sorry for him because he's the protagonist. It's written so that you're supposed to feel sorry for him. Like, no matter what, if he's good or bad, you're going to have this feeling of like, man, I wish that didn't happen to him. It's sad to watch someone's life fall apart. But, I mean, I guess, yeah, good.
He did bring it on himself. That, right. Like, there's no aggressive badge making. And the music's ding, 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 like winding up, and she's growing and growing, and then the great, no, it didn't bother me at all. I think that's as the kids would say, a big mood.
Big mood.
Paul's smile and naivety. I think Chris Klein is great in this one. I think that, because it's very easy to do this character as, you know, oh, he's just a jerk. And I don't think that's the character at all. I think he likes the idea. Obviously, he's very happy with Lisa, and he likes the idea of, yeah, maybe I could be the principal, and people like me, and I can do things. Tracy's poet speech, just the use of, David Henry Thoreau once said, we can't make my days any better. But I can't make them any longer, but I can make them better. Just the use of picking like a poet, I think, emulates Tracy's speech wonderfully. I've sat through a couple of those sort of speeches. When I'm saying all this, and when you're watching Election, you don't have to name names, but can you see the Tracy flick? Can you see your Tracy flicks?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's I especially, I mean, I love Tracy and like her relationship with her mother, and
Yeah, I was going to get to this.
Yeah, well, we can table it for that. But just that I've got this these clear visions in my head of my my mom almost, and she's a very go-getter kind of person. She's that whole loving yet pushy mom trope is incredible.
That incredible part where she's crying and she gives her the pill, and then she leaves and she goes, well, maybe if you'd done more posters, or if you'd taken my suggestions on the speech, well, we'll figure it out. As if there's going to be a next time, and I'm going to sort it out for you, my baby.
Yeah.
That's played by the wonderful Colleen Camp, who you may know as Yvette from Clue, Die Hard 3. She's one of the people in the station, and in Apocalypse Now, she sings Susie Q. She's one of the models for the Playboy dance. She's great. Tracy's wardrobe, we mentioned this earlier. I think it's very realistic, and this goes for Mr. McAllister's wardrobe as well. When she has to edit Mr. Novotny out of the group photo, imagine having to do that. Imagine that's your job. And
if we can do that in post-production, can we just put a side-to-side of Mark Harrelick and Louis Theroux?
Do you think they look...
One thing I was thinking the whole way through was, this is Louis. He looks just like Louis Theroux.
Yeah, I can do that, yeah. As Mr. Novotny, not now.
I don't know if I get Louis Theroux as much, but what's his name? There was also another actor that I thought he looked like.
Sidney Poitier.
Rupert Everett.
Ooh,
that's a good one. That's a great one.
Oh gosh, I can't think
In
of
Centurions.
Yeah. You know that Rupert Everett was supposed to play George in Virginia Woolf now, but it's been COVID and cancelled.
Oh, that would have been wonderful.
No.
It was going to be him, Laurie Metcalf, and what do you call it? Chinese Dave. Russell Tovey from Gavin and Stacey was going to be Nick.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, it was going to be directed by Joe Mantello. And it ran for, I think, 5 preview performances, and then it got COVID.
That's so sad.
It's very. I mean, I wasn't going to be able to see it anyway. Broadway,
and it got COVIDed.
And it's not, and also it's not going to get what do you call it, put on again, because Joe Mantello and Laurie Metcalf are already booked in for Death of a Salesman with Nathan Lane next season. So.
They're reviving Death of a Salesman again.
Yeah.
With Nathan Lane.
Wouldn't you with that cast?
With Nathan Lane?
Yeah.
As Willie?
Yeah. I can see that. Can you not?
I'll have to see it. I just If I'm in New York, if I'm passing through.
Oh, very good. Well, if a revival comes to the Leeds Playhouse, we'll tell you what our review was. Poster Rip and Fall, great. Right. When McAllister first has sex with Miss Novotny, in front of the child in the cot.
Oh, Mrs. I thought you said Mr. for a second.
Yeah,
I was very confused.
Delete. Where do we stand on that? Because obviously it's a very, very, very young child.
Well,
still doesn't sit
that
well.
might just traumatize the child for life, in a very Freudian way. Maybe he'll never remember it, but I'll always know.
How does Tracy? Right, in my favourite scene when they're going head to head, Tracy goes, and certain teachers who can't even get their wives pregnant. How does she know? She
probably heard from Dave. I mean, and they might have talked about it. She might know a little bit too much about Jim McAllister because of Dave, and maybe that's part of why he hates her so much.
Mm.
I don't want to.
Oh, go on.
I would hope not, and I don't think that all of Jim's hatred is just pure sexism. I mean, there's obviously those elements, but I would hope that a lot of it comes from a place of not just annoyance, but a genuine fear.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just me being too hopeful.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I think you could very easily make the argument that if Tracy is, I don't know, Thomas Flick, and it's the exact same. I think if Thomas Flick is still jumping up and down outside that window at that time, I think he very well could still crumple up those 2 votes.
Yeah, it's just I was reading something or listening to a podcast or something in like October that was talking about this year's Democratic primary election. And there was this basically the polls were coming in that nobody wanted to vote for Elizabeth Warren because she reminded them too much of Hillary Clinton, and that was purely based on the fact that she's a woman
with a bob cut.
Yeah, just a woman with ambition. It's people. To generalize, a lot of people just can't handle it, and it's really scary. It's really off-putting. It's really sad, but that's what was going on 20 years ago and still happening. Yeah.
It's the same way that Theresa just got compared to Margaret Thatcher just because she was a woman prime minister.
I was just going to say, I put all of this down to Thatcher. Like, I know that we like. Hopefully, women in power get more chances. But Margaret Thatcher has shot them all in the foot from the very start. Well,
yeah, and that's what's really, really sad is that, when women have to become like this ultra conservative, like evil. I mean, it's exciting that England's had British some British prime ministers have been women, but the women that have been prime ministers are not anyone that I would ever want to elect.
Sure wouldn't. Jim's prep for the date. He gets nice flowers. He gets nice chocolates. He puts a rose in the Bible. He puts champagne and ice in the sink. And then he washes his balls. It's very good prep.
Don't you, Tom?
I don't. I'll be completely honest. I just shower. I just shower normally. I think if you've showered in the day, like what? I think the insinuation is obviously he hasn't had time and he's in his school outfit and it's all sweaty and he wants to be good. I've never washed. Well, I do wash my clothes normally, but never like prior of like, okay, later today, I think something's going to happen.
You've never booked it in.
Maybe you should think about doing it.
No,
a little bit more genuine.
Hygiene.
Yeah.
I will have you know that there isn't a single person who doesn't. Everybody says I smell great. That's like famous.
This is not.
Not
where
down
we're going.
There. Not down there. But like just like normally people are. But people are just like
sniffing.
Well, like everybody. It always happens. It's just like who smells great, and then like it's like I know it's me as soon as it happens. But then they're all like, "Is it you?" And then they go, "Oh, it's Tom," and I'm like, "I know. I famously smell good." It's like my smooth skin. It's like my smooth skin. I have famously smooth skin. Anyway, we're getting into a tangent.
This is great physical qualities about Tom Corner. Great hair.
Does Diane forgive Linda? Do they stay friends? because they're
And
both crying.
We only see them, yeah.
It looks like it. I mean, who knows if they stay friends, but I think it's this, like, she's not mad at Linda, she's mad at her husband.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? You've got Linda, who's, whether she's, you've got Linda, who's, whether she's justifying it to herself after the fact or genuinely believes it, is saying that Jim took advantage of her, not forced her, but took advantage of her emotional state.
Of the situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, straight away, it's already established when he's perving on her, when he's on about them trying for a baby. It's definitely him.
Yeah. She does initially say when he suggests that hotel, like she's horrified.
That's not funny, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then she also does the hug and like kiss in the ear. I don't think we can say that Jim misread any signals. I think
no.
I like the in the prayer montage. I'd like to thank you, God, for what I'm told is a rather large penis. Just his modesty, niceness about it. Rock bottom piss on tree when he's parked outside and he has to do the rock bottom. That's rock bottom for Jim McAllister. Busting open the box when he doesn't have the key. That's great. Should have drawn. If it wasn't for good old Paul voting for Tracy, they would have drawn.
I know. That's he just like couldn't vote for himself. It's very sweet.
Paul's good. We like Paul. Vending machine. What's better? The wailing on the vending machine in this, or William H. Macy with the ice scraper in Fargo?
Or Rowan Atkinson with the tie in Mr. Bean's Holiday.
Or John Cleese with the tree in Folly Towers. Okay, they're the 4 nominees. Do-do-do-do-do. What are we going for?
La La Land. We did that joke last week. We've done it already. We've done it.
I've still got, where is it here? I've written down Moonlight for that gag. There. Moonlight. Just for that great gag. Still better than Reese Witherspoon.
Shut up. That was a great joke.
Yeah. Oh. Have you been booked on Saturday Night Live yet? Or is
I'm still waiting my call from Lauren Michaels. I'll have you know, I had an improv teacher that told me I was very funny for a woman. So
that's a way of putting it.
I was just he continued after that. He was like, I don't know what it is. Women just aren't funny, but you are. Like, thank you.
Backhanded compliment.
All of the 1 years laters are all great. I think that's a great montage. Leading up to, obviously, where do you go when you've hit rock bottom? New York City. Great look on Reese at Lake. Oh yeah, what great look for Reese when she's at the lake at the end and she's got that white jumper and her hair looks great. Welcome to Tom's Fashion Corner. I think that's a really cut to it now. I think that's a really good look for Reese. The white jumper and the hair.
You do love a good jumper. You love a good coat.
I do love a coat. I do.
Does he still wear a scarf and strange murderer gloves?
He does.
I do wear my OJ gloves, yeah. No, I'm talking about on women. I like a good jumper and a good coat. I like a good jumper and a good coat myself. But
more importantly, he likes his women with a good jumper and a good coat.
Yearbook signing, poor Reese.
There was something I was thinking about as well, like how she's so alone. And that's why she was targeted by Dave. And it's so sad. No one even wrote hags in her yearbook. Have a great summer.
Oh, I thought that was like an insult.
No,
Hag.
no, hags. We used to write that in each other's yearbook at the end of the year. We wrote hags because it stood for have a great summer. Is that just an American thing?
Yeah.
All right.
Cook to Hot Fuzz when she's doing crossword, and she goes hag.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Well, actually, I could probably make my own way up. Hag.
I beg your pardon?
Evil old woman considered frightful or ugly. It's 12 down.
Oh!
Yeah, no, in my yearbook, it just, there was a girl who said no to me to a date, and she put, I said no. And maybe that's where we can pinpoint the start. Well, no, we all know where we can pinpoint the start. Anyway, the hard cut to the caveman's penis.
Yes.
Yep.
Maybe the best edit in the film. Let's break down Mr. McAllister's day of sightseeing. I went to the mall and I was on my way to the Holocaust Museum. He's hitting up the mall, and then next stop, the Holocaust Museum.
Well, the mall, like it's the National Mall, not like the stores. Right?
No, I don't. What's the national? I don't get that. What's
no,
the
like
mall?
they call the mall is it's not like
shopping mall.
No, it's a
okay.
It's the National Mall. Let me make sure that it's the right one. So I don't call it the wrong monument, but it's basically it's the section in DC where there's the huge pool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's called the mall. And then you've got the Washington Monument. Mm-hmm.
Oh, like we have the Mall going up to Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, like that.
My joke is ruined.
So it's not to put a damper on your day, but it's he went from one monument to a different one. It wasn't a quick shopping trip.
Okay, so I thought I was being funny. Anyway, Tom's Book Corner.
You were wrong.
I don't know why. Sorry, I don't know why the theme to Tom's Book Corner is West Side Story.
I think
is Election by Tom Perrotta. Easy read, did it in 2 days. It's only 200. I'd highly recommend it. Biggest changes. Diane takes him back. Takes Mr. McAllister back. You've got the ending of the book is basically the alternate ending, which we'll get to next. As I say, Tracy's more of a bit of a sex pot. Everybody's hitting on her. There's a lot of frank discussion. The principal keeps making references to, like, there's a really creepy line where he's like, maybe she was worth losing your job. So even the principal doesn't. I like that not everybody is a horrible suggested pedophile in the film. I like how we can enjoy the principal's character and not who is great. I can't believe how we've not talked about him yet. But the principal, perfectly cast, perfectly, very well done. Phil Reeves, I tell a lie, as Walt Hendricks. I also like how they keep calling him Dr. Hendricks. I don't, like, he must have a PhD or something.
Yeah, does he?
But he's the sort of guy who's like, he clearly got something that makes him a doctor, and he will not let anybody forget that he is actually called Dr. Hendricks. As I say, there's a bit of a nice little bit at the end where Tracy, where Paul and Tracy sort of, she sort of considers like, oh, maybe, I could maybe ask him out or something. And that sort of bled in through the book. It's not just a twist. And then she puts in his yearbook, hopefully you can call me over the summer, love, Tracy. And they're writing the things at the same time, and then they swap, and then he just runs off, and then she reads his, and it's like, you were a great president, Paul. It's painful. No, the book's great. Highly recommended. Also, the Immaculate Heart thing is a bit more clearer. It's Tammy basically, because I think that's a bit of a nitpick, pardon me, of like, why does she give up the posters? In the film, I think you can figure it out, but in the book, it's pretty clear she wants to get suspended.
She wants to go to
Immaculate Heart. And in the film, it's obviously just suggested that she wants to go because it's an all-girls school and she's a lesbian.
They have the soccer game going on. And...
Yeah. But in the book, there's another girl called Dana, who she flirts with at a party, and she basically follows her to Immaculate Heart. And then Dana turns out to be straight, and she misread the signals. Very good book. I'd give it a 8 out of 10. Bing. Alternate ending corner. So we all watched the alternate ending. Basically, it's the same as the book. Mr. McAllister is a car salesman, and Tracy comes to see him, and they sort of air it out, and they sort of apologise, but neither really admits the truth of the matter. And I think it's a nice ending. I think the one we get is better.
By the way you've explained the book, I think it does work for the book. But I think the idea of the film is you're seeing all of this from Jim's perspective, and it's kind of tainted from his ideas. Therefore, at the end, that needs to happen. They can't really have that nice moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also a more accurate representation of like how people are going to feel about her as she continues to climb, especially like, it's really hard for Republican women, and because I'm not going to back them, and I'm a woman, and then like a lot of people within their own party are not going to back them. Like she's not going to have an easy life. So it's I think it foreshadows like what her political career might be like, and as sad as it is, that's what happens when you're a Republican. Not to.
No, it's all right. I think it's a fine ending. I like it, but it's not as good as who the fuck does she think she is? And he throws the milkshake. The build of that, and then that little petty run away.
No, it's wonderful.
I think that's your kicker. That's your nice kicker ending. Also, who's this? Do we think this relationship's going to work out with the woman he's with at the end?
Absolutely not.
Obviously, it's unreliable narrator. Do we think that he is really underselling this? Because the footage leads us to believe that actually it could work out. But he says, doesn't he, she's just got to have a big relationship and wants to take it slow. I think if I read that in the book, the unreliable narrator thing, and I'm not seeing anything, I would be like, oh, wait, he's fallen for this woman and she is really not into it and just wants a bit of fun. However,
she also looks a lot like Sarah Jessica Parker.
She does.
She does.
Maybe they should have cast Sarah Jessica Parker. That got COVIDed as well.
Oh.
Sarah Jessica and Mathew Broderick were supposed to do Neil Simon's Plaza Suite, but that's been cancelled. I don't know if it's been postponed or cancelled. Either way.
What a lovely couple. My favorite in the biz.
Tom's big question. I've got 3. Who do you
There
relate?
is love.
Who do you relate
Who's
to?
God?
I think we've sort of touched on that. We've got a Tracy, we've got a Jim, and we've got a Tammy. Did Mr. M do the right thing?
No.
I don't know. It's a pros and comment. But did Tracy need? Does Tracy need that knock? To quote Sinead famously, does Tracy need to be knocked down a few pegs?
No, I mean she's already got everything against her. Like she's and also she's going to Georgetown, which is a very, very elitist school. So even if she hadn't had the presidency and she's just going to Georgetown, she's from Omaha, Nebraska, with a single parent. Like it's. And she even said it. It's a bunch of rich kids who like were gonna get in anyway.
Yeah, that's not brought up in the novel. I like that aspect. The class thing that she throws. They throw in the line of what do you call it? You know, he's just a rich guy who's had everything handed to him. I like that. That's not in the novel. I think there's I should have said this in Tom's book corner. It's a really good adaptation. All of the changes. Top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
and you can't ignore the class thing because it's going to affect her. But yeah, like obviously she's ambitious and that is has its good and its bad qualities, but you know she's not gonna have an easy road.
Synopsis of a sequel. I could watch a Netflix 10-episode series about Tracy's political life. I would watch that.
But I would love it if it was just in shambles. Like if nothing went right for her. Like cuz and we talk about this in our classes a little bit, Will, just to let you know about how we don't see a lot of especially on stage, a lot from a conservative perspective. And when we do see it, it's satire. But it would be interesting to see her from her conservative perspective and like and it be satirical. I'm not gonna sit through something that's seriously like voting for Trump or anything. But from that, just to see the perspective and then have somebody else come in and ruin it all for her. I love that.
My one note is have that person be played by Mathew Broderick and introduce Mr. McAllister's twin brother, because I need
his twin albino brother.
Yeah, I want more Broderick and Witherspoon. Will, have you got an idea for a sequel?
Well, after working as a tour guide in the Natural History Museum, he starts to notice that at night time, some of the exhibits come to life.
Beautiful.
Very good. Very good.
That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. I've got reverse. Obviously, it's very interesting to think of this film as a sequel to Ferris Bueller. What if Ferris?
Well, he's playing the principal that hates it.
Yeah, he's eventually Ferris grows up and becomes a teacher, and all of these petty rebellions are an attempt for him to return to his glory days.
Did you get that idea from the YouTube comments, or?
I also saw that.
Oh yeah, they did say that. Yeah. Closing line Hall of Fame. Anybody?
Brilliant. It's the best
circle.
Ending.
It's a great cycle.
Best ending they could have had. Oh my gosh, I love it.
I love also that his petty nature is the same with 5-year-old kids on a high school history tour. It's brilliant. Right. Election. Amelia, do you have any final thoughts?
I don't have 2 brain cells to rub together, so I can't,
Okay.
can't think of it.
Will, this was your first time. Will you be rewatching Election in the future?
I certainly will. This is definitely Mathew Broderick at his best.
Who's Mathew Broderick?
Matthew
Matthew Michael Broderick.
You definitely said Matthew McAllister at one point as well. So.
Did I?
You did.
Well, I'll edit it out. I'll do Jim McAllister.
Dub it over.
Jim.
Yeah.
He's beautiful. He's enchanting.
I don't get it. Oh, John Mulaney. Yeah, very good.
I did
very
a John
good.
Mulaney joke.
You did. Very good.
Because I can't come up with anything on my own. I need other people's jokes.
Yeah, no, final thoughts. I love this film. I will rewatch it most likely for the rest of my life. I love Alexander Payne.
As you do.
As you do. I love Alexander Payne. I don't know if it probably is my favourite Alexander Payne. If I'm in a crying mood, I'd say The Descendant. I prefer The Descendants. That's a good crier. Have we all seen The Descendants?
I haven't. I'll have to.
Well.
Watch my hometown boy, George Clooney.
Yeah.
I think I prefer this.
Yeah. I think this is probably the one. It's more rewatchable. You've got to be in a mood to watch. So I haven't seen Sideways in a long time, but I feel like as a writer who loves red wine and is depressed following a breakup, I think on a rewatch, Sideways is really, I'm really going to like it more this time.
I'm
a real Paul Giamatti type. Is that the first time anybody's ever said that?
I don't know. I could see you in Big Fat Liar.
I think I said the exact same thing after I watched the ending of The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, terrible film. Very bad.
I'm
the Rhino! Hey, come in, the Rhino! Paul Giamatti, great.
10 out of 10.
Paul Giamatti. This one's for you, Paul.
This one is not even in the film.
It's not in the film. Next week we are going back in time. Well, no, back to the Future's after it, but we are going back in time to 1986 for Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where a fresh-faced Mathew Broderick is going to have a day off in Chicago. He's going to have a lot of fun. But Amelia, you won't be there for this, so we'd like to thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I believe that we've got you penciled in for
Silence of the Lambs.
The Silence of the Lambs, what will be our 11th episode. And we will be greeted with the incomparable Charlotte Linnigan also on that episode. Mm-hmm. As well as you'll get to meet Will's better half, Becky.
Oh.
What was that?
Oh, not her again.
You know what? I'm just going to hard cut to black. Yeah. No, I won't. That was a joke.
It's really funny.
Funny like that. I am Thomas Carruthers.
I'm Will Leggetter.
And I'm Amelia.
Are you sure?
I'm very sure that I am Amelia Bryant.
Now you sound like you're on course. Now you sound... And on the Bible. Everybody watch Election. Well, hopefully you should have watched it before listening to this. But anyway.
Oh, you're an idiot. What are you doing here? Get out. Get out of here.
Ooh, very, very aggressive end to our lovely listeners, if there is any. If there is any. The 5 people. The 5 people that are listening. And made it all the way to the end of this great episode. Right. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Thank you.
Ferris Bueller, Chicago King of Chicago. Sausage King of Chicago. The Chicago King of Chicago. Well done, Tom. Brilliant.
Da ba da ba da ba da da.